Have you noticed how most twin flame guidance keeps circling back to you, the divine feminine, while the divine masculine feels like a mystery happening somewhere off screen? You listen, you learn, you try to do the work, and still a question keeps rising in your chest. Why do I hear so much about the divine feminine and so little about him? Maybe it even feels unfair, like the burden of healing, stabilizing, and holding faith keeps landing on your shoulders. You may be thinking, if he's part of this connection, why am I always the one being guided, corrected, redirected, and asked to rise? And if you're honest, it can create resentment, exhaustion, or quiet doubt, because you want union, but you don't want to feel like you're carrying the entire bridge by yourself. In today's video, I'm going to explain the truth behind this question in a way that finally makes the journey feel coherent. You're going to understand why the divine feminine is spoken about so often, not because the divine masculine doesn't matter, and not because you're meant to fix everything, but because the divine feminine leads union. And there's a deeper spiritual psychology to that. The divine feminine is the foundation of the energetic structure. She is the living grid. She is the stabilizer of the field that makes higher love sustainable. When she heals, the connection doesn't become smaller, it becomes clearer, it becomes safer, it becomes real. I'm going to show you why we cannot truly speak about healing the divine masculine as a separate project while the divine feminine is still bleeding, doubting her intuition, abandoning her own needs, or trying to earn love through spiritual labor. Because the moment you become your own lighthouse, steady, embodied, illuminated, you stop chasing the ship, and something ancient begins to awaken in him. By the end of this video, you won't just know what to do, you'll understand why your role matters on a level that calms your nervous system. You'll stop feeling like the divine feminine path is punishment. You'll see it as power. Because the divine feminine doesn't guide union by force, she guides it by embodiment. She becomes the beacon, the lighthouse, the living proof of what love looks like when it's aligned with truth. And that's what calls the divine masculine back, not your explanations, not your waiting, not your pleading, but your frequency becoming undeniable. As you rise step by step, grid by grid, your ascension doesn't just change you, it illuminates the entire path back to spirit, back to heart, back to his truth. And when you understand this, you stop asking, why is everything about me? And you start realizing, because I'm the foundation. And foundations don't chase, they hold. So stay with me all the way through, because what I'm about to share will shift how you interpret his silence, your role, and the real mechanics of union, so you can move from confusion into clarity, and from longing into leadership. Section 1. The divine feminine as the foundation of union. When the divine feminine truly heals, something in the entire connection stabilizes. From a psychological lens, her nervous system stops broadcasting chaos and starts broadcasting coherence. From a spiritual lens, her energy becomes a steady field, quiet, grounded, unmistakably clear. And that field begins to hold the frequency of union long before any external reunion happens. Not because she is trying to make anything happen, but because she is no longer leaking her power through fear, waiting, or overreaching. She becomes centered inside herself, and that center becomes the foundation the connection can rest upon. This is the part many people misunderstand. The divine feminine does not force the masculine into awakening. She doesn't convince, argue, plead, or try to prove her worth. She doesn't push the universe or pull on the timeline. Instead, she becomes so aligned, mind, heart, body, spirit, that her very presence reveals what is misaligned within him. Her light doesn't attack him, it doesn't shame him, it simply illuminates. And illumination is confronting when someone has been living in avoidance. That is why the work begins with her, because she is the grid that anchors higher love into the physical plane. She is the stabilizing frequency that says, this is what love looks like when it is clean. This is what truth feels like when it is embodied. When she lives from that place consistently, the masculine can no longer hide from the truth of his own soul. He can try to distract himself. He can try to replace the feeling with new situations, new attention, new noise. But her alignment becomes a signal his system recognizes. And that signal quietly disrupts every false structure he built to stay asleep. Her healing becomes a mirror, not a weapon. A mirror doesn't chase you down, it simply reflects what's there. In the same way, her growth reflects the places inside him that are still fractured, still defended, still performing. Not to punish him, but to reveal what is ready to be healed. And her ascension becomes an invitation, not a chase. An invitation says, this is available, this is possible, this is real. It leaves space for choice. It leaves space for timing. It leaves space for his own awakening to be authentic, because union can't be sustained by pressure. It can only be sustained by alignment. So the divine feminine becomes the foundation of union by becoming the foundation within herself. She anchors the love first. She embodies the frequency first. And in doing so, she doesn't control the masculine, she clarifies the field. She holds the standard so steadily that the truth in him has nowhere left to hide. If you've made it this far, take a breath and really let this land, because this is the moment where the journey stops being about getting him back and starts being about understanding what your energy is actually doing in the field. Your healing isn't a performance, and it isn't a strategy. It's a stabilizing frequency that changes everything without you forcing a single outcome. And in the next section, we're going to go deeper into what happens when you hold that alignment consistently, how the connection begins to shift, and what it activates on the other side. If this resonated, please like the video to support the channel, and leave a comment sharing what part of this hit your heart the most. Or simply type, I hold my frequency, and I trust divine timing. Section 2. The divine masculine's role after the feminine heals. Once the divine feminine has done the deep work, once she has faced her wounds, reclaimed her voice, and returned to herself, the entire journey shifts. From a psychological lens, her healing stabilizes the emotional field. It stops the connection from being driven by fear, longing, or survival patterns, and it becomes driven by truth. From a spiritual lens, her healing restores the original blueprint of the bond, and that is when the divine masculine's role becomes unmistakably clear. He is not here to stay lost in confusion. He is not here to linger in avoidance or collapse. He is here to build the new earth. He is here to protect what is sacred. He is here to provide what is stable. He is here to structure, to become the grounded architecture that allows heaven on earth to exist in real form, not just as a beautiful idea. Because the divine feminine does something powerful when she heals, she becomes vision again. She becomes the dream that is clean, clear, and uncompromised. Not fantasy, but knowing. Not desperation, but divine direction. Her inner counsel, the part of her that can see in spirit, that can feel the future before it arrives, begins to dream the world into being. She holds a frequency of possibility that does not beg the world to change. It invites the world to rise. And the divine masculine, at his highest, is the one who takes that vision and makes it livable. He builds her dream. He builds what her inner counsel has already witnessed in spirit. He turns the unseen into structure. He turns the spiritual into the practical. He becomes the hands that shape what the soul has already designed. But here is the key. He does not awaken through pressure. He does not activate through being chased, convinced, or emotionally managed. He is activated by what he witnesses. He is awakened by evidence. Not just the evidence of her love, but the evidence of her wholeness. When he sees the divine feminine healed, truly healed, something in him resets. He witnesses a woman who no longer negotiates with her worth. A woman who is not waiting to be chosen because she has already chosen herself. A woman who does not need him to complete her because she is complete. And that sight doesn't just soften him emotionally. It calls him back into purpose, because what he's really seeing is the truth of who he is meant to be beside her. Her healing does not merely inspire him, it ignites his soul assignment. It reminds him that this connection was never meant to be a loop of pain. It was meant to be a blueprint for creation. And when the feminine becomes clear, the masculine becomes accountable. When the feminine becomes embodied, the masculine becomes activated. When the feminine becomes the dream made flesh, the masculine remembers, I am here to build what is real. I am here to protect what is sacred. I am here to structure love into a world that can hold it. Section 3. Service is the true essence of the masculine. At the deepest level, The divine masculine carries an inner orientation that is often misunderstood in the modern world. Beneath the roles, the conditioning, the pressure to perform, and even the fear of failure, there is a core instinct that remains remarkably consistent. The masculine is designed to serve. Not as submission, not as self-erasure, and not as people-pleasing, but as sacred responsibility. Whether a man is on a twin flame path or not, there is something in him that wants to be useful, to be protective, to be a stabilizing force that makes life safer, stronger, and more sustainable for what he loves. And that service begins with protection of the earth, protection of Mother Earth, protection of the feminine. But let's be clear about what the masculine is truly drawn to. The divine masculine is not magnetized to distortion. He is not called forward by the external, egoic feminine that demands, manipulates, or performs for attention. That energy may trigger his lower instincts, competition, avoidance, shutdown, but it does not awaken his soul. What awakens him is the true feminine, the spiritual feminine, the goddess frequency. The part of you that is rooted in truth, presence, receptivity, and inner authority. When he sees the goddess within you, when he perceives you through the eyes of the heart, not the eyes of fear, something ancient in him remembers what he is here to do. His desire to serve does not feel like sacrifice. It feels like alignment. It becomes pleasure. It becomes fulfillment. It feels like purpose returning all the way into his bones, as if his body finally recognizes the path it was built for. This is why the divine masculine loves to heal the feminine, not in a savior way, not in a codependent way, but in the way a grounded presence calms the nervous system, in the way true devotion creates safety, in the way protection becomes an energetic container where the feminine can soften, blossom, and create. He is moved by innocence, not naivete, but purity of heart. He wants to protect what is tender, what is sacred, what has been harmed by a harsh world but still refuses to become bitter. And his protection extends beyond the personal. He loves to protect Mother Earth. He loves to protect the feminine principle on this planet, the life force itself. That is why, at his highest, his service evolves into mission. He begins building new templates, new structures, new ways of living that are not driven by domination, greed, or emotional numbness, but by love, peace, higher order, divine justice, and a new standard of integrity. This is what building the new earth actually looks like through the masculine lens. It is not just spiritual language, it is creation in form. It is leadership that protects instead of exploits. It is strength that serves instead of controls. It is the willingness to become a builder of grids, new earth grids of compassion, harmony, and truth, so that divine mission and divine purpose can finally anchor onto the earth in a real, livable way. And when the masculine is aligned with that essence, he doesn't feel trapped by responsibility. He feels alive inside of it, because service, for the divine masculine, is not his burden. It is his nature. Imagine a man who's been living on autopilot, working, achieving, staying strong, but quietly feeling numb and disconnected inside. Then he meets a woman who isn't trying to impress him, chase him, or demand anything from him. She's calm in herself. She speaks with honesty, treats her body and her space like a temple, and moves through the world with a softness that doesn't collapse into weakness. One day, he notices something small. She bends down to pick up trash in a park without announcing it, then pauses to place her hand on a tree like she's offering gratitude. In that moment, something in him shifts, not because she asked him to change, but because her presence reminds his soul what devotion looks like. And without even thinking, he starts showing up differently, walking her to her car at night, fixing what's broken without being asked, cooking a real meal when she's exhausted, and protecting her peace by setting boundaries with people who disrespect her. Then it expands outward. He starts volunteering, caring about the land, mentoring a younger man who's lost, choosing work that actually contributes to life instead of draining it. That's the essence of service, when the masculine sees the goddess within the feminine and suddenly remembers, I was built to protect what is sacred and to build something that lasts. Section 4. New Earth templates require the old to collapse. Beautiful soul, the truth is this: the new Earth does not arrive on top of the old world, like a fresh coat of paint. It emerges when the old template finally breaks, when the structures we've been conditioned to call normal can no longer hold the frequency of what is waking up inside humanity. Because the old world, in its deepest design, functions like a matrix, not just a system of bills, routines, and expectations, but an energetic architecture built to reward control. It trains people to chase approval, status, and survival, while quietly funneling power upward. It is not built for collective flourishing. It is built for the elite to remain protected, for the many to remain distracted, and for true transformation to stay postponed. And this is why the awakening of the divine feminine and divine masculine together is so confronting to the old paradigm. There is a particular fear in the matrix when the masculine begins to awaken in his true form. Because a healed masculine is no longer hypnotized by domination, ego, or performance, he doesn't need to conquer to feel worthy. He doesn't need to win at someone else's expense to feel safe. He becomes sovereign. He becomes clear. He becomes a leader who cannot be bought by false rewards or controlled through fear. And when that happens, when the masculine rises in integrity, the new earth begins to build itself through him, not as an idea, but as a living structure. Because the old power systems lose their grip the moment leadership is rooted in truth instead of control. They lose their influence the moment people stop outsourcing their identity to external authority. So if you feel the collapse around you, relationships shifting, old ambitions losing meaning, systems revealing their cracks, this isn't a punishment. Psychologically, it's the nervous system realizing that what once felt stable was never truly safe. Spiritually, it's the soul refusing to live in a template that requires you to shrink. If you want to build the new earth, you must come into your spiritual power. And let's be clear about what that means. The divine masculine often leads through third-dimensional power structure: action, protection, building, direction. The divine feminine leads through spiritual power, intuition, frequency, devotion, inner truth, divine wisdom. But this is not egoic power. This is not the kind of power that needs applause, dominance, or control. This is spiritual power, the kind that moves with God, with divinity, with destiny. The kind that is aligned with authentic passion, not performance. The kind that doesn't manipulate outcomes, but becomes an instrument of what is true. And when you embody that, when you stop negotiating with the old template and start living as the frequency of the new collapse stops feeling like loss, it starts feeling like liberation. Because the new earth is not built by resisting the breakdown, it is built by becoming so anchored in truth that the old world cannot recruit you anymore. If you've made it this far, take a slow breath and really let this land, because what we're talking about isn't just spiritual theory, it's the deeper reason your life may feel like it's shedding skins right now. Ask yourself, where am I still trying to build my future on an old template that was never designed for my soul to thrive? Where have you been shrinking, staying quiet, or choosing comfort over truth just to keep the old world from being disturbed? I want you to pause for a moment and reflect. And if this message is describing your current season, leave a comment and share what has been collapsing and what is trying to be born through you. And if you're not ready to explain your whole story yet, that's okay, just type this affirmation in the comments. I trust the collapse is making space for my new earth. Section 5. Spiritual power, destiny, and the codes within. What is your authentic mission, beautiful soul? What is it you truly came here to build, to heal, to offer, to complete on earth, not for applause, not for survival, but because it feels like truth in your bones? From a psychological lens, what we call mission is often buried beneath conditioning, the roles you were taught to play, the identities you used to stay safe, the strategies you learned to earn love. But from a spiritual lens, mission is not something you invent. It is something you remember. And this is why the divine masculine, especially on the twin flame path, doesn't necessarily need more information from the outside. He needs activation on the inside, because he is already encoded with the blueprint of what he is meant to become. The codes are not absent, they are dormant. The DNA carries potential like a sealed book. The story is written, but not yet opened. And the work, for the masculine, is not simply learning in the way the mind likes to learn. It is the deeper work of awakening, of being confronted by energy so true that the old self can no longer pretend. This is what activation really is. It is the moment the soul begins speaking louder than the ego. It is the moment the body, the heart, and the spirit start aligning with a destiny that was always there, waiting beneath the noise. When 5D energy becomes activated within us, especially within the masculine, something profound begins to shift. It is not just a personal upgrade, it is a collective birth. A new earth is born through awakened individuals. A new earth awakens through men who stop living as fragments and start living as whole beings. And in that awakening, a new dawn opens for humanity, a doorway into the highest timeline, the highest passion, the highest mission, where purpose is not performative, but embodied. And with that comes a spiritual return to what we have always been. We remember we are connected to God. Less ego, more soul, less defense, more truth. The nervous system softens because it no longer has to fight for control. The heart expands because it no longer has to prove its worth. We become spiritually attuned, spiritually awakened, not as a concept, but as a lived experience. The hunger to compete begins to fade because the soul knows it is not in a race, it is in a calling. This is where real spiritual power starts to take form, not in dominance, not in superiority, not in being right, but in alignment. Competition diminishes, separation loses its grip, and we begin to recognize each other beyond labels. We unite in the power of love across traditions, religions, nationalities, colors, genders. We move into soul consciousness, away from egoic consciousness, because the soul does not ask, "How do I win?" It asks, "How do I serve what is true?" Beautiful soul, let this land in your body, not just your mind. The divine masculine's mission was never to win, love, prove anything, or dominate the connection. His mission is service. Service to the feminine, service to the earth, service to innocence itself, to heal what was hardened, to protect what is pure, to become a safe structure for the next generation, especially the children, so that innocence is no longer something the world destroys, but something the world is built to preserve. And when this mission activates, it doesn't look like perfection. It looks like awakening. It looks like a man being called out of the old timeline, out of ego, survival, emotional avoidance, and performance, and into something holy and real. Because the new earth isn't just a concept. It's a frequency made practical. It's a life made livable. It's love becoming structure. That's why the divine masculine isn't just meant to feel. He is meant to build from what he feels, to turn inner truth into outer integrity, to create new platforms, new ways of living, leading, partnering, providing, protecting, and serving that energize humanity into higher timelines, not by preaching, not by pretending, but by becoming the kind of grounded, embodied presence that makes people exhale again, the kind of presence that makes the feminine soften without fear, the kind of presence that teaches children, without words, that the world can be safe. And notice how the sacred order keeps repeating, again and again, across every stage of this journey. The divine feminine heals, anchors, and embodies. She becomes the frequency steady, sovereign, and clear. The divine masculine awakens, rises, and builds. He becomes the structure stable, devoted, and aligned. And together, love stops being a feeling you chase and becomes a foundation you live on. Spirit stops being something you talk about and becomes something you construct. Heaven stops being an idea and becomes a reality, one aligned soul at a time. So if you're watching this and you've been wondering why the connection feels bigger than romance, bigger than longing, bigger than pain, this is why. This path is not only about union, it's about mission. It's about a new template for love on earth. A template where healing is honored, where devotion is demonstrated, where protection is sacred, and where building is done with a clean heart. Now I want to hear from you, because your voice is part of this grid too. Leave a comment clearly stating this exact quote. Together, love becomes structure, spirit becomes reality. And if this message helped you breathe deeper, helped you understand what's happening beneath the surface, please like this video, share it with someone who needs clarity right now, and watch the video below, because what we're about to uncover next will help you stay anchored in your power, while this mission continues unfolding.